Let's bring my friend in. Tone joins us each and every single day, Monday through Friday at 3:30.
Big Sales, how you doing, sir?
Appreciate you coming aboard here, man. I laid some things out. First off, anything you heard that we were talking about so far in the first hour and a half here that kind of stuck out to you?
I know. We briefly touched on the wide receiver 3 position for the Philadelphia Eagles. You know, prior to the Goddard injury, you know, by my estimation, I would consider the pecking order, because regardless, every offense has a pecking order, or every quarterback has his go-to guy. Every offense has that secondary guy, so on and so forth. So for me, the Philadelphia Eagles pecking order: A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, DeAndre Swift, and then that number 3 receiver, whoever's there at the time, because they swap those guys out often. Sometimes you see Olamide on the field. Sometimes you would see Quez on the field if he was healthy, and now you're seeing Julio Jones on the field at that time. So when you think about that pecking order from all the way up to number 1, all the way down to number 4, the likelihood of the number 4 option being a high contributor of the offense is pretty slim. So I say that to say, although I am a fan of Olamide and what he can provide, because I think he's a pretty good route runner, for what he provides, and I also think he has good hands. He has good speed for the position. He does all the grunt work, all the scrappy work you want your number 3 to do. Just based off the way this Philadelphia Eagles offense operates, I don't think they're hard pressed to get the ball to a guy like a number 4 wide receiver. So
it really, they have no significance to that position.
Some offenses prioritize it, some don't. Depends on what you're trying to accomplish.
I wonder what Kansas City's number 3 guy has in receptions.
All their guys are number 3s. So let's be honest.
Well, they beat you with number 3s last year.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily relevant to the question. You know, you're asking more.
They spread the ball around more.
Sure, they have no choice though. They have no choice.
He threw for 5,400 yards doing that.
When that's Mahomes. He's an anomaly. He's a special cat. When you think about when he had Tyreek Hill and Kelsey, who was getting the majority of those targets? Travis Hill and Kelsey. He fed those guys. So that's what happens. Kelsey right now. What's the target differential for Kelsey versus everyone else? Because
it's got to be A.J. Brown kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's similar. Kelsey he's having a rough couple weeks. I know.
I think he's only on pace for only 108. Only.
Yeah,
right. For a tight, I know, right?
Only. I think he's missing Taylor Swift. That could be it, but
Oh, what are you saying? That Frankfurt trip kind of broke his little heart a little bit.
Oh man, all I know is if I'm away from my wife too long, I get a little antsy. I'll tell you that.
I know this, man. My old lady's not around me, man, and I'm by myself, man. I could light the house on fire. I could do anything. Candles break, everything. It's like the fire alarms go off. It's never a good sign, man. Don't ever leave me alone.
No, I
can't go anywhere with that.
But to your point, though, I do think I would love to see, or I'll put it to you this way: every time they've gone to Olamide, he's done something with it. He hasn't hurt you. So I appreciate his contributions, whatever they are.
I like him too.
Yeah, I like him more than Quez. So I'll look at it like this: when you have a guy in your offense, A.J. Brown, that's so dominant, that's so effective, and then you have a guy named Devontae Smith after the fact. These guys win most of their matchups 8 times out of 10. So when you have options like that, am I really going to go through all my progressions to find Olamide? Now, if he's wide open, he's okay. I'm gonna throw him the ball, but
no. But the reason why I bring up the number 3 position not being a factor is because now that you've lost Goddard,
right,
you're going to have to find other options now to get people open. And to your point now that they're going into the second half of the season, don't you think it would be an advantage for AJ if you were able to get more people open so that he could be even more open instead of facing double teams each other? That could wear a guy out too, when you're facing double and triple teams now too. If you know that you're not going to other people as much and you're 22% of the targets, is that a high number, Tone? Because that's what Kelsey, somebody just said that. I don't know if that's true or not, but somebody said that Kelsey gets 22% of the targets. Is that high?
He's a number 1. I feel like that percentage, if that's the case, I feel like
that's high.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't think that's high. If I throw the ball 100 times and
25% go to one guy.
25 go to one guy.
Kind of, I guess.
I mean, yeah, I guess, but I mean, if he's the man, what do you expect? Like, you know, it's the pecking order of things, man. I can't really.
I'm not throwing it to Tolbert. Let's say that.
Yeah, right, exactly. You know what I mean? And you know, I guess I'll look at it like this, right? If AJ was struggling, or if teams have shown an ability to kind of stick it to him, then I would probably see the Philadelphia Eagles trying to get a little bit more creative outside of that. But you know, again, you got, and then, but also, you bring up a good point though. Regardless of this, Goddard is out now, so you're going to have to figure out more creative ways to get Devontae the ball. You're going to have to find more ways to get Julio the ball, Swift the ball. I would love to see them create more offense for Julio and Olamide during the stretch, but I think Devontae's targets are going to skyrocket because of Dallas Goedert being out.
So a guy fact checker says 32% go to AJ.
Okay.
That's pretty significant over. Now, again, different positions too, tight end and wideout. I mean, you know, I don't know. I never looked at it that way. What's really high volume versus, and again, high volume, high production. Okay, shit. What do you want me to do? I mean, if I'm giving you all the food and you're rowing us to safety, I'm going to give you all the food. I'm not going to give it to a stiff. I mean, I get it.
Yeah, like Tua and Tyreek. Tyreek accounts for 32% of Tua's targets.
Waddle's been out a little bit too.
Yeah. Waddle missed one game, but he's been kind of in and out. He's kind of been in and out of games though. He's kind of like, he'll play, but he'll miss some snaps because he's hurt. But in grand total, he's missed one game. And then as far as, you know, let's think about another team, right? The Dallas Cowboys, because they feed CD a lot. So the Dallas Cowboys,
that's got to be high.
He has 72 targets right now. Dak has 265 attempts.
Holy
so
cow,
72
he's on target for 150 targets.
265. So CD Lamb accounts for 27% of Dak's targets, but Dak has only thrown the ball 265 times.
Oh,
so that kind of like levels that out a little bit.
Yeah, you bet. That's a huge number on his attempts.
Yeah, and then if you think about the Chargers with Herbert, right? Herbert's thrown the ball 282 times. Keenan Allen has 83 targets, so I know that's going to be a high number. 83 divided by
got to be 35.
282. 83 divided by 282 equals. That's about 29%. 29. So, and again, Herbert, from a pass attempt perspective, like who would have thought there would be a point in the season where Jalen Hurts has more attempts than Herbert? Who would have thought that at any point? So, I'm not sure.
You know this, Tone. That was one of the reasons why I said that he'd never throw for 4,000 yards, is because of the limited amount of attempts.
It made sense because of the attempts. You know, if we're not anticipating the attempts to go up,
his pass percentage continuing to grow, he's totally going to do it.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. So you know, and also when I'm noticing right here now that I'm looking at the Chargers, it looks like to me, okay, they have 283 total pass attempts on the season, and they have 208 rush attempts. It looks like they're trying to have a more balanced attack.
Even with Eckler being out a couple times?
Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like.
What's on the Chargers team? What's the number 3 guy's target? What's the number 3 guy's catches?
The number 3 guy. So if we're going in order of, okay, the number 3 guy, it looks like is, okay, let's see here. It would have been Mike Williams, but he got hurt earlier in the season. It's only 3 games.
Yep.
So should I skip him because he's not playing?
Yeah, please. Yeah, he's not a factor.
Okay, all right. So then in that case, I'm just going to go by the games played then, because in that case, the number 2 would be Quentin Johnston, and the number 3 would probably be Joshua Palmer. So actually, no, Quentin Johnston is the number 3. Okay, so the number 3, Quentin Johnston, the guy they drafted, 8 games played, 14 receptions, 24 targets, 128 yards, no touchdowns. And that's the guy they drafted in the first round.
See, what I'm looking for is context and what that number is. And maybe the only outlier is Kansas City. And the reason that I'm looking at that 3 hole is maybe that's a position now with Goddard being out, Tone, that you try to find some mismatches, because how many teams do you think have a slot safety or another safety that could hang with a guy in a 3 hole? Most teams don't have 2 safeties. So what I'm saying is I'm trying to get mismatches in my passing game and not just isolated on AJ. I'm looking to try to cover. So maybe you do more go to Swift. And maybe you line him in the slot.
Yeah, because
maybe you put him out there. Maybe you get him more quick throws, and you're able to use him more to help the run game a little bit too.
Yeah, the trend I'm seeing also with a lot of these teams is when it comes to the order, when it comes to the number of targets, these teams are going wide receiver. Again, I'm going off target count, right? A lot of these teams are going wide receiver, tight end, then wide receiver, or second tight end. So a lot of these teams kind of have this kind of follow the same pecking order as the Eagles: number 1 receiver, number 2 tight end, and then number 3 receiver, whoever it is for you. So what the Eagles are doing isn't necessarily an anomaly, but I think it's more so the production that's probably that's glaring. For example, for the Buffalo Bills, their number 1 target is Stephon Diggs. Their number 2 target is Gabe Davis. Their number 3 target is Dalton Kincaid. And then the number 4 target would have been Dawson Knox, but I think he's gotten hurt.
So the trend is the tight end is the 3-hole guy.
Yeah, that's the trend I'm seeing for a lot of these teams. The trend is the number 3 option typically is the tight end, dependent. I mean, unless you're KC and he's the number 1. But for the most part, I'm seeing here a lot of these teams. Okay, the Saints, on the other hand, they lean on their wide receivers and their running backs. Alvin Kamara is that dual threat guy. They don't really throw to the tight ends like that in New Orleans.
Think they got one.
That's a good point.
You know what, Tone? You know what I would do if I was New Orleans? I would use Taysom Hill more as my tight end in that offense to try to get him more involved in it some way. You're paying the guy $10 million. Why don't you utilize that?
I really can't believe, man, he got that kind of money, man.
Dude, they gave him $10 million a year.
Bro, he's a plumber. He just does random things. Like he's
a plumber with the crack. Right? I mean, dude, he's the whole. I mean, I was like, you gave that guy $10 million.
Hey, listen, you know that guy that always comes into the barbershop, or like he's walking around the city and he has a trench coat full of all this different stuff he's selling. That's Taysom Hill. He has an answer
Swiss
for
Army
everything.
knife.
Swiss Army knife, dude. He just has everything. Hey, CDs, DVDs, lockpicks, whatever you need. Hey, listen.
Hey, I got a knockoff Rolex.
hey, listen, I got a blender right here. You need a blender. It's like, where the hell you pull
Where'd you get that thing from?
Don't worry about it. I got it for you. How much? $10? All right.
All right, Tone, I got a question for you here. Do you think that the Birds need to go 4-1 over these next 5 to lock up home field advantage?
Need to? No, I think they need to go 3-2. That's the need. Would I like them to go 4-1? Hell yeah. But I think 13 wins can be the magic number in this conference. And this is really my main reason why. And I've been talking to me and Rob, been kind of breaking this down all week because it's the bye week and we're trying to really get a good feel for everyone else and the opponents. But the main team I'm paying attention to in terms of being on our tail for the number 1 seed. I'll be honest, I'm not really focused on the Lions, even though they are 6-2, right? They're 6-2, yep. But I don't think they can.
And they got the Chargers this week.
Exactly. And I had the Lions winning that game. I believe I think I said that in the last show. I have the Lions winning that game, but I think the Chargers can steal it. You feel me? So
it's in LA. Not right. that matters.
Right. Not that matters. Right. So we've been really thinking about the top teams that can really challenge the Eagles for the number 1 seed. And I think the magic number is 13 wins for the Eagles. And here's why. I'm looking at the Dallas Cowboys' upcoming schedule. As of right now, they're 5-3. I think we all can safely assume they're going to beat the Giants and beat the Panthers. So that will put them at 7-3, right?
Yep.
So after that, that's Commanders, Seahawks, Eagles, Bills, Dolphins, Lions, Commanders. I'm putting a lot more respect on the Commanders because that quarterback seems like he's starting to get more and more comfortable.
I'm a fan.
I like him. I ain't gonna lie. I like him. He's throwing the ball across the yard. He's second in the league in passing yards. Yeah. Sam Howell was second in the league in passing yards. Yeah, he just threw 300. He just threw 300 yards on the Patriots last week. Yep. So when it comes to the Cowboys, assuming they beat the Giants and Panthers, they're going to be 7-3, right? And that final, what is that? That final 7-game stretch for the Commanders, Seahawks, Eagles, Bills, Dolphins, Lions, Commanders. I think it's entirely possible the Cowboys go 4-3 in that stretch, even 5-2. But even if they do go 5-2,
that's 12 wins.
That's only what?
That's 12 wins.
That's 12 wins. That's 12 wins. So if the Eagles go 13-4, that's the number 1 seed locked up for you right there. You know what I mean? I don't believe the Dallas Cowboys can make it through that final 7-game stretch completely unscathed.
Hey, Tone, you say 3-2? I don't know, man. I might go 2-3. I mean,
oh, you mean so you mean 3-4?
3-4, because I'm going to say this to you.
I'm with you, though. I'm with you. And
who the Dallas Cowboys beat this year that made you say they're a contender?
I don't know. I'm with you. I'm just trying to put a little more respect on that defense. But ultimately, you're right. I'm like, okay, let's really go one by one. They play the Commanders twice. The first time they play them is at home.
They're going to lose one of them.
They're going to lose one of them. I honestly believe that. I think they're going to lose one of them. And also the Commanders, it's something about they play us all tough. They're going to push them. And also Sam Howell, the last time he played the Cowboys, he beat them. And
a lot of those coaches are coaching for their jobs.
Exactly. And so I think they split with the Commanders.
Yeah,
so that's 1-1, right? The Seahawks at home.
They're going to drop that.
You think so?
Wait, it's in Dallas?
Yes. I think they win that. I think they win that. And then they meet the Cowboys again. The Eagles beat the Cowboys again. If I'm being realistic, I think the Eagles split.
Okay, let's. How about this? We go with history.
Okay.
That they split. Okay.
Okay.
So they split there. They win that.
Okay. So all right. So that's 1-1 with the Commanders. Then they beat the Seahawks. So that's 2-1. They beat the Eagles. That's 3-1. That leaves Bills, Dolphins, Lions.
Well, they're going to lose maybe 2 of those games.
That's my belief.
I think they're going to lose 2 of those games.
So that would put them at 4-3.
You watch. I think Buffalo beats them. They beat the Dolphins, and then they drop it to the Lions.
Yeah, but here's the thing though. Here's what's fascinating. They got Bills and Dolphins back to back on the road.
Yeah, they're going to lose one of those games.
So
I think they'll lose. I think they'll lose the Bills games. They'll beat the Fins because I don't think the Fins. They have not shown me that they can hang with contenders. You got to beat somebody, dude, before I'll go like this to you. You have not beating any. When you look at Miami, who have they beaten that makes you go, wow, oh, yeah. Every time they've lined up against a contender, they've been beaten.
Yeah, that's true.
Buffalo beat them. Eagles beat them. They had a chance last week against Kansas City. Kansas City let them back in. They were up 17-0 in Frankfurt.
Yeah, man. I'm honestly, I really see that. I see the Cowboys in the next season.
And I think that Lions team, Dan Campbell's going to have that team chomping at the ankles.
Yep. I honestly got the Cowboys finishing the season 12-5. 12-5.
Be 3 straight years they've had 12 wins going nowhere.
Yep. And then the Detroit Lions, again, another team that's kind of on the heels of the Eagles. Got to pay attention to them. But
and they've got good. They've beat. They beat Kansas City and KC.
Yep.
Did they beat Seattle? I know they got trucked by Baltimore.
They lost to Seattle. Their only quality victory.
Did they lose in overtime?
Yes.
To Seattle?
No. That was that. I don't think that was overtime. Yes, it was. It was overtime. Yes, correct. It was overtime. It was an overtime game, so they barely got past Seattle. But here's my thing with the Lions, right? You beat the Chiefs you beat the Chiefs on the road 21-20, but I don't want to take nothing away from it because they had to do the work. But it was week 1, no Chris Jones, no Travis Kelce. It's like you beat them by 1 point. So I mean, they did it. It's a cool thing for them to have on a resume, but how much stock can I put into the variables? And I just can't because it's week 1 and anything can happen in week 1. Other than that,
let me push back one thing on you.
I hear you.
That means then that you take credence in the loss to the Jets. That I mean, do you look at the Jets loss and go like this? Hey, I have to, do I look at it that's a big deal? Looking at it.
No. I'm not saying that's an indictment on the Chiefs. I'm saying that
it's an indictment on the Lions.
No, it's not an indictment on anybody. I'm just saying I don't know how much I don't know how much that win.
I happen
says
to
about
agree with
them.
you. I'm just arguing with you.
No, because all right, like really think about this, right? Okay, you beat the Chiefs. All right, you earned that. But you lost to the Seahawks, a top team in your division. I'm sorry, a top team in your conference. You beat the Falcons. Okay. You beat the Packers. Okay. You beat the Panthers. Okay. You beat the Buccaneers. You lost to the Ravens 38-6.
Crushed.
And then you beat the Raiders 26-14. It's like the moment you really came across some teams that really.
So you're still not sure who they are.
I'm not sure who they are. Remember how last year the Eagles had that really, really easy schedule? And a lot of people still was like questioning, like, the legitimacy of them. And it's like, yeah, I understood that, but that they were stacked all across the board. The Lions, they're talented and healthy. The Lions, they're talented, but I would never say this Lions team is as talented as that Eagles team last year. I would never say that. So,
absolutely not.
Right.
Absolutely not.
So when I put all that stuff in perspective, it's like,
that's one of the best rosters ever assembled.
That didn't win the Super Bowl, but don't get me started, man.
No. I would say the 17-0 Patriots and the Eagles 2022 team has to be like, when you have that list of teams that didn't win the Super Bowl when it comes to rosters.
Yeah.
Those are two of the greatest rosters I've ever seen. I'll say this to you about Kansas City too. That loss to Denver doesn't look as bad as it did before, because it looks to me now that Denver is riding the ship there, and you're seeing Russell Wilson play complimentary football. You're seeing that defense settle down a little bit more. And I think Sean Payton, I'm not saying they make the playoffs. I don't think so. They're 4-5. But are they 4-5?
3-5.
3-5. Okay, so they're still a mountain to get out of that hole still. They still got just to get back to 500. Just to get back to 500.
They're still kind of, and I know they're 15.
And they got Buffalo Monday night.
Hey, listen, I think that game is going to be tougher than what Buffalo may think.
It's in Buffalo, but I do too.
That's going to be a very competitive game. I don't know who's winning that game. Do you?
No, I look, personally, they've lost guys in their secondary. There's a ton of injuries in Buffalo.
They got a lot of injuries on defense, a lot.
The run game, okay, so you sign Leonard Fournette. I don't know. They're bitching about the coordinator again, Ken Dorsey. Really? To me, Denver is playing better football, and I think Wilson's playing better football. That would not shock me. They go in there and win that game.
Now, I will say this, Buffalo, the players, the offense in particular, they just had a players-only meeting with the offense. I'm curious what spark that provides. We know football is an emotional game, so, and they're at home. They're coming off of a bad loss to Cincinnati last week. They know they have this is a must-win game for them. This is a must-win game, but it's also a must-win for Denver if they're trying to even make, because I think Sean Payton is looking at it like this, right? Although I'm trying to rebuild this thing, there was a lot of stock going into that team this year. I think he's begging for a wild card berth.
I think more people thought they'd be 5-3 right now than 3-5.
Absolutely. So, and if you think about that schedule, it's like y'all should be better than this. I mean, you should have beat the Raiders, you should have beat the Commanders, you should have beat the Jets. You know what I mean? So it's just I'm totally with you on that. But again, that's a must-win game for both of those teams. I think that's a sleeper game of the week. That game deserves a lot more attention than it's getting.
I think if that Buffalo Bills team drops to 5-5, you're in full panic mode. And I think that could cost Sean McDermott his gig.
I agree.
They'll probably fire Ken Dorsey first, but Sean McDermott could lose that job because you're not going to continue to limp around with a defensive coach and not have an offensive-minded guy in that building with Josh Allen after you just gave that guy $48 million. You're not doing that, okay? They'll bring somebody in there that's more of a creative, offensive-minded guy. I'll tell you this, man, no disrespect to anybody in Washington, but I would clearly look at Eric Bieniemy on what he's doing with Sam Howell. Sam Howell, dude, is, you know what? You told me something just now. Eric Bieniemy is worth the hire. He's second in passing yards.
Correct.
Behind a shitty organization and one of the worst O-lines in football. O-line. And you got that guy, Sam Howell, Thurston Howell III. You got him second in passing yards.
Listen.
And he just threw for 700 yards in the last two games against the Eagles, and he's backed it up with 700 yards in the last 2 weeks. Hoss, I think the enemy has put himself in a position to be a head coach.
Yeah, and on top of that, let me make sure I got this correct. Sam Howell, he leads the league in pass attempts. He leads the league in pass attempts. He's completing 66.6% of his
That's
passes.
spectacular. So how many pass attempts does he have right now?
On the season?
Yeah.
Sam Howell has 353 pass attempts.
He's on pace for 700 attempps.
Sam Howell was on pace for 667 to be exact. So
667.
Yep. So he's on pace for 444 completions, 667 attempts, a 66.6 completion percentage, 4,600 passing yards.
It ain't him.
26 passing touchdowns and 17 interceptions. Listen, you get him an O-line, dude. The NFC East is going to be entertaining.
Let me tell you something. Sam Howell in San Francisco. I'm just going to tell you, man, that guy, he's trending like, and maybe those Eagle games gave him the momentum here, man.
Confidence is everything.
Those yards against him, Tone, don't look that awful now when you look at a 9-game sample size.
Exactly. Because, it's so funny. To your point, I was thinking like, damn, like, are we the only ones he's cooking like this? So then I started looking at his game log, right? And I'm like, okay, let's really break this down.
Is he on pace for 5,000 passing yards?
He's on pace for about 4,600. So
Sam Howell is on pace for the same amount of passing yards as Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, pretty much. Listen to this though, man. I didn't realize he was throwing these yards up. Look, so last week, 325. Against the Eagles, 397. Against the Giants, 249. Atlanta, he threw up a dud and it was 151. Against Chicago, 388. Against the Eagles, again, 290. Against Buffalo, 170. Against Denver, 299. Against Arizona, 202. So,
dude,
I mean,
man,
this
guy's cooking.
He's throwing the ball a lot, and he's pretty accurate. He's pretty accurate. So, it kind of puts things into perspective. It's like, okay,
sure does.
He did that to the Eagles, but he had a similar game. His first matchup with the Eagles is similar to his matchup with the Patriots. He went 29 for 45 against the Patriots. He went 29 for 41 against the Eagles.
73.1% completion percentage in both games combined for Sam Howell against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah. He has, on the season, he has 3 games completing 70% or more of his passes. 2 of them belong to the Eagles, and 1 of them belong to the Chicago Bears.
That's not a horrible. Hey, he's going to put up some numbers on you.
Right.
If you protect him, and plus Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin is underrated, man. He's maybe one of the most underrated wideouts. He's better than Lamb.
I would take – listen, I get into debates with Cowboys fans all the time about it, and, I understand Lamb is having a great season. I would never take nothing away from it. But I prefer Terry McLaurin. I think Terry McLaurin is a true number one. You can line him up anywhere on the field. CeeDee Lamb mainly eats in the slot. So it's like I just feel like Terry McLaurin is just way more polished. It's just something about Terry McLaurin I think is better.
That kid Dotson's good.
I like Dotson. Last thing on the Commanders. I know you mentioned the Bills should probably look at Eric Bieniemy. If Eric Bieniemy leaves Sam Howell too soon, I'm afraid he might turn back into a pumpkin.
Yeah, because coaching matters,
especially with a young quarterback,
especially in development.
Yes.
How about this, Tone? Over the last 15 games, Chiefs, Eagles, Niners, Jags, Bengals are 12-3. Aren't those the 5 teams that, if you took those 5 teams,
Chiefs, Niners, Jags,
Bengals.
Eagles? Oh, Chiefs, Niners, Jags, Bengals.
Chiefs, Eagles, Niners, Bengals, and Jaguars are 12-3 over the last 15 regular season ball games in the NFL.
Those are all contenders.
Wouldn't you take one of those 5 teams versus the field to win a Super Bowl?
Yeah, I would.
I think there's something to be said about consistency here.
Yes, and listen, man, I know it's not sexy to talk about, but I'm going to down this hill, man. The Jags are a dark horse.
That kid at the end is coming around.
You got to watch the Jags. No one wants to give them their. I'm watching them, and I understand Trevor Lawrence only has thrown 9 passing touchdowns. I get it, but he's accurate. They're winning. Their defense forces turnovers. Their defense plays fast. They get sacks. they are a team that you don't. I'll put it to you this way: as much as I like,
Don't say it.
No, listen.
Don't say it, because I was going to ask you. Don't say it. Go ahead, say it.
Maybe we're not talking about the same thing.
Oh, we are.
As much as I think the Dolphins are explosive,
okay.
As much as I think the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes, I don't think neither of those teams want to see the Jags in the playoffs.
No.
The Dolphins do not.
In a Super Bowl, Doug Peterson or the Eagles?
Are you smoking dope? Oh man!
But would it feel better if Doug? How would it feel if the last 2 years Reed beat you and then Peterson beat you?
You try? Are you trying to?
Folks, what I'm doing here is
you're breaking
trying
to
make him miserable for next week's Chiefs game.
Nah. Screw that. Like if that ever happened in life, do you know how crazy we will look? Just as a fan, we will look. I mean, it's
both
not like
coaches you fired beat you in two Super Bowls in a row.
Now it's not like the fans campaigned for Doug to get fired. We like Doug.
I know. I get it.
When he got fired, we all were like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah.
All of us were shocked. So, if that, it's not going to happen. Let's just put it that way. It's not going to happen.
Okay.
It's not going to happen.
You hear what Tone said? Tone put it down. He put it down in cement. That ain't happening, Sills. We're not going to lose to the two coaches we just blew out.
Nah.
Two coaches that are going to go. Because if Doug Peterson wins his second Super Bowl, he's going to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, but the Jags, first of all, you win a Super Bowl with the Jags. You might as well retire and deliver his bust, at the parade. Like, you know what I mean? If
Doug takes that team to a Super Bowl.
If Doug takes the Jags to a Super Bowl, don't you
think that would have been a poor move by Howie if he gets that team to the Super Bowl?
I thought it was a poor move when it happened.
Do you still think it's a poor move right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
And here's the thing: it has nothing to do with Nick.
Hey, with Doug, you think Doug would be having the same success right now, or would there be too much internal bickering going on right now?
If Doug is still here, that's assuming that they've written the ship. So,
and factor this in: is Jalen as further ahead as he is?
Well,
does Doug want to have a little more control on the? Because look, wait a minute now. First off, is Trevor Lawrence, in your opinion, a top 10 quarterback now?
Yes.
Okay, so he took that guy who looked like he was starting to die on the vine, and put him back up into the top 10, where he was the number 1 overall pick. So if he could develop that guy, don't you think he would have had the same impact on Jalen?
No, without a doubt. I definitely believe Doug would have had success developing Jalen Hurts. I don't think he would have had any issues. Because Doug comes from the school of development quarterbacks. He was a quarterback coach in KC or Green Bay.
But I wonder, Tone, if he would have been able to do the dual threat development, because I think that's a different. Because Nick couldn't. Nick had to turn it over to. Because look, there's no question Shane Steichen is a dual threat developer of quarterbacks. Look what he was doing with Anthony Richardson. Okay, I mean Anthony Richardson and C.J. Stroud were looking like the two best guys coming out of that draft, right? And they were looking pretty good. And Shane, to me, Tone, I think Shane was more of a. Did he work with Jacoby Brissett also in Indianapolis when he was the OC there? When Frank Reich was there?
So Shane Steichen, okay, so his coaching trees, he was in
Indy.
He was in Los Angeles. So he worked with Tyrod around that time. Because I think Tyrod Shane was there also, and so was Nick Sirianni, because those guys were part of the Mike McCoy coaching tree. What they did was they kept some of the position coaches. You got to remember, those guys were all. Frank Reich was the OC when they were in San Diego. And when Frank got the job in Philly, those guys remained behind. Yes, because Shane Steichen from 2016 to 2019, Shane Steichen was that's when they were in between San Diego and Los Angeles.
Correct.
From 2016 to 2019, Shane Steichen was the quarterback coach.
Yes.
For the Chargers. So he worked with
Phillip Rivers.
He worked with Phillip Rivers towards the end. He worked with Tyrod, when they were transitioning to Herbert.
Yep.
And then he became the interim offensive coordinator in 2019. I'm not sure who they fired, but he became the interim OC in 2019 for the Chargers in Los Angeles. And then he became the full-blown OC in 2020 for Justin Herbert. If you notice, Justin Herbert's most productive years were under Shane Steichen. And then since then, Justin Herbert has been through two different offensive coordinators. He's been through Joe Lombardi, who they fired after one season, and then now he's with Kellen Moore, who they might end up firing because they're just not productive. So it just goes to show you
terrible coaching staff in Los Angeles.
It is terrible, and but here's the thing, right? I know this is a completely separate topic, but Justin Herbert is so talented, right? So I don't question his talent, but I question the people around him, but I also question him. Here's why. Because you've gone through 2 different head coaches, 3 different OCs, and still it's like they're running in place. So I'm trying to understand who's the common denominator in the situation.
It's him, because you know why? You can't use that excuse to all those coordinators, because Hurts had it, and he still developed with all those guys. How many coordinators did he have to go through in the last 7 years of his career? And Hurts got better every year, no matter who the guy was, no matter what the guy said, no matter what happened to him. And Herbert, to have that excuse, well, you know what? I'm not playing as well, so that's one of the reasons as a coordinator. That's not an excuse, son. They gave you $50 million. I mean, you're out of excuses. Pay rent's due.
Yeah, right now, man, Herbert is on pace to have one of his most
numbers.
So, okay, his best year statistically was 2021, 38 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, over 5,000 yards, right? So 2022, he's completing 68% of his passes, just over 4,700 yards, 25 passing touchdowns, 10 interceptions. So you can see the regression, right? He went from 38 touchdowns in 2021 to 25 in 2022. And this year he's on pace for 28 passing touchdowns. That's what he's on pace for. And 9 interceptions. So he got so far he's brought the interceptions down, but
their defense is just not stopping people though too, and their run game, because
they don't have a run game at all.
Yeah, and Eckler's been in and out. Tone, what's his completion percentage though right now this year?
Right now, 67, good number.
Okay. Look, I wanted out for a guy. How many attempts? I mean, is he on pace for? Is he on pace for 600 something attempts too?
So far he has 282. He's on pace for 599, so 600.
Okay, 600.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. I want to up that. Maybe 66. Okay, now that could be the inconsistency at wide receiver because Williams is out, and they don't really have a functioning tight end in that building any longer because Hunter Henry's now up in New England. So, I mean, you really have a one-threat guy right now when it comes to Keenan Allen in the building.
Yeah. And here's the thing, right? They haven't had the toughest schedule, in my opinion.
No.
So I'm trying to understand.
It's coaching, too. That dude, to me, all I need to know about the Chargers is that Minnesota game where you handed it to the Vikings and you go for it on 4th down and he was 23.
He was perfect in that game. In that Minnesota game, he went 40 for 47, 405 passing yards.
And the coach almost cost him.
85% completion percentage, 3 passing touchdowns, no interception, 1 sack. By far his best game of the season.
And get this, the coach almost still lost that game for them by going for it on 4th down here. Tone, I want to throw this at you here. And I'm not going to ask you a loaded question like I always do. So I'm just going to put some – Your Honor, I'm not going to lead the witness, okay?
I appreciate that.
All right. 66.6% completion percentage against your secondary. This is according to NFL.com.
Right.
You've given up 19 touchdowns. Your secondary, which is 31st. You're 32nd, dead last in the league, and giving up the amount of first downs against you, 129. You've given up the second worst completions in the NFL, 241. You're 31st. You're 31st in total pass yards, according to NFL.com. When you hear those numbers, as you go into the second half of the season? What does it mean to you?
Pass defense needs to step their weight up, man. You know, it's so fascinating, right? You know, one stat that I will throw in is also the Philadelphia Eagles in terms of opponent pass attempts per game. The Philadelphia Eagles are ranked 31st in the NFL with 40 pass attempts thrown against them per game. That means that teams are going into games game planning to throw the ball at the Philadelphia Eagles pass defense. That means it's universally known the Philadelphia Eagles pass defense can be had.
Okay, well, let me say this then about your run defense.
Yeah.
Is the Philadelphia Eagle run defense, is it the least amount of attempts of rushing the ball against them? Is there a way to look that stat up?
Because I got that right here.
If they lead the NFL in the least amount of attempts in rushing, that number one ranking is a little bit jaded for me then. Because if teams are going into the game not thinking, well, why would I run the ball against them? They're pretty decent against it. I'm going to throw the ball against them. Why would I run the ball against that football team when they're down at the bottom of the league when it comes to defending the pass?
It's so funny you asked for that stat. You're spot on. The Philadelphia Eagles are ranked number 1 in the NFL in opponent rushing attempts per game. The teams are only averaging.
This is a trend. You and I are doing trends
just
now.
Under 18 rush attempts per game. So teams are when teams game plan for the Eagles, they say, okay,
I'm not running.
I'm not running it. They can stop the run. It's just that simple. You know, last year, as a run defense, the Philadelphia Eagles, teams were averaging 25. Well, let's just average it up. This year, teams are averaging 18 rush attempts against the Eagles. Right, that's ranked first this year. In 2022, the Philadelphia Eagles teams are averaging 26 rush attempts against the Philadelphia Eagles. So teams are running the ball 6 attempts less than they were. I'm sorry, 8 attempts less than they were the season before. The Eagles couldn't stop
the game plan.
The Eagles couldn't stop the run last year. Remember?
16.
So teams are running more. So now I want to look at how often teams were passing against the Eagles last year. Last year, wow, the trends make sense. So this year, like I said, the teams are averaging 40 attempts per game on the Eagles. Last season, teams were only averaging 31 attempts. So that's
flipped.
It's literally flipped, and it's based off of their ability to stop each side of the ball. So the Eagles, they can stop the run, right? No matter how many times you run, like they've shown to stop it, and almost like
number's jaded to me now.
But here's my thing, right? I don't understand how it can. I understand the passing side of it, right? But in terms of the rushing side, even when teams try, they don't get anywhere. No. So, like, it'd be different if the Eagles had those spotty games, like that one game they gave it 150, 160 yards. It's like it's consistent that teams can't run the ball against them, even if they try. So I think as the season goes,
but they're not trying.
But when they try, they can't do it. So it's like if you're a coach, if you're a coach and you've tried. Okay, I'll put you this way. If you're a coach and 5 coaches before you have tried to run the ball against the Eagles and they can't get anything, and you try and you're like, you know what? Like teams are giving up early. I give it to you that way. Teams are giving up early. You know, teams are deciding early in the game. If I can't, on my first few attempts, if I can't get 3 or 4 or 5 yards, I'm not going to run the ball. So I don't think that's an indictment on their ability to stop.
I think you're overthinking this.
How so?
Okay. I want the least amount of resistance to move the sticks. So why would I run the ball when I know that your weakness is in the secondary? You're making it seem that I won't go into games going, well, I'm not going to run the ball because they're decent. No,
right.
I'm going into the game thinking you're awful in pass defense.
Right.
That's the least resistance. And you know when I give you an example of that? That Washington game when it was 4th and 1 or 3rd and 1, and they decided to take the penalty, and they took the penalty. And they backed the corners up instead of running the ball there at 3rd and 5 to get the first down. They just threw it because they knew those corners would be off the ball. I'm not going to run the ball on 3rd and short. I'm going to throw the ball on 3rd and short on you. Why? Because your scheme, your injuries, are all playing a factor in why these numbers. And again, Two-Tone, This is what I say about the 8-1. Like Kelsey said last night, we have deficiencies. And here again, this is what creates the margin of error. And the lesser margin of error this year is because what the teams are doing now, they're not running the ball. You know, when you go into a game plan, you don't do this. Well, they do. No, you do what you said. I think we're kind of saying the same shit here a little bit. But what teams are doing for their game plan and their strengths, they're doing this. Well, okay. They're really good in their defensive tackle position, and they're poor at throwing the ball. So what we're going to do is go hitch passes, get the ball out of Sam Howell's hand quick. That's what Dak did too. They're going to play pitch and catch on the numbers. They're going to run a couple seam plays, some screens, short dump offs, and we're going to move the sticks. How many times have we seen teams go up and down the field on the Eagles this year because they were going to intermediate passing games? And when they want to make a big play, you're not getting home defensively. And when you're not getting us home with the higher volume of pressure, those routes are developing more.
You know what? I just found a stat that adds to this conversation we're having. So when it comes to moving the sticks, right? Like you said, teams want to take the path of least resistance. If I know you can stop the run, why would I run on you? I'm just going to pass it.
And to your point, that's a great asset to have. But why would I bang my head against the wall when I know I'm not going to knock it down?
Exactly. So to your point, right? Because this actually goes into why that Washington game was so competitive. Did you know the Philadelphia Eagles, on average, are giving up 14 passing first downs per game?
They're last in the league.
That's last in the NFL.
They're last in the league in the amount of first downs given up on 129 also. So think about this, Tone. If I'm getting first downs throwing the ball, why in the world would I game plan a run to try to win first? Teams are winning first down against Philly, throwing it.
Exactly. And if you notice, the Philadelphia Eagles defense, they spend more time on first and second down than third down.
Correct.
Because teams are finding ways to move the ball on first and second. Like, for example,
and get this, that's what you're not in third. Tone, this is why the volume of pressure's down too. Now that you put these numbers and these trends together, you know why the volume of pressure's down? Because teams are winning first down on you. They're not in third down as much as they were in the past a year ago. That's why it's not third and long. More teams are in third and short this year against the Eagles. Teams are winning first and second down against them. That's why they're getting first downs on first and second down, Tone.
That's exactly why if you think about the way that Washington game went, because I rewatched that game recently. With that entire game, Washington was cooking the Eagles on first and second down. The Eagles barely were in third down situations. So the Eagles, they need to find a way to get back on track on first and second down. They know at this point, a team is probably going to run the ball on you. They're going to try, but that's not what they want to do. So
8 attempts, I don't really think is a true commitment to running the ball.
Exactly. Yeah. Teams are only running the ball around 17.
17 times a game. Is that what the number is?
Yeah. What I say here? 18 times a game on the Eagles on average. Teams are averaging 18 attempts per game. And
just think of that, Joe. So, if a team gets 100 yards on 18 attempts against the Eagles, that's enough for them to win third down even more. And that's what Washington did. If you look at the Washington games, they won the yardage number on the rush. They outrushed Philly in both games. And they won first down. But what happened? Howe made an interception late in the ball game to turn the tide. Mm-hmm. And to your point, what you've been saying, teams are going up and down the field. Actually, not really. They're going 20-20. In the red zone, they're only giving up 20 points. That's the saving grace of this thing.
Yeah,
they're only giving up 20 points a game in their pass defense or their scoring defense.
I'll take it a step further. The Eagles are ranked dead last in the NFL in terms of opponent pass play percentage. The Philadelphia Eagles have the highest pass play percentage against them. Teams are throwing the ball 71% of the time on the Philadelphia Eagles.
That's what these numbers mean to me.
71% of the time.
that teams are doing this now. Okay. They look at and again, too, you got to remember, like I said in the first half of the show, I said this, I go, teams now, when I look at these numbers here, they're looking at the trends going into this is a trend now going into the second part of the season where I'm going to try to run the ball just to keep you honest. I'm not running the ball to try to beat you. The only way I'm going to beat Philly is throwing the ball. And I'm going to do quick passes, quick hitches. I'm going to attack the linebacking core in the middle of the zone. And, I don't know. I think maybe you said it 3 days ago. Most teams don't really challenge the numbers. They challenge the middle of the field and the seam.
That's where I wish I could pull a chart up or find a chart, but the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm pretty sure
target chart. That'd be great if there was a target chart.
I'm pretty sure if you pulled up a target chart for the Philadelphia Eagles,
to the middle of the field.
Middle of the field. I'm gonna work on that. I'm gonna work it out over the weekend. I'm gonna try to find that. If I can find a target chart over the weekend, that would be
because I don't think they're really. And Bradbury's probably got more green dots tone on the left side of that defense than what Slade does, I would think. But then again, you may see more green dots on the Slade slide because those are usually where the number one is lined up. Is over him. So all these numbers here going into the second half, they've got to get pressure. They've got to get more pressure on the quarterback if they're going to, in my opinion, keep some. You've got to give yourself a little bit more room for a little more margin when it comes to error in the second half. And that, what you have just done and what we have done here, we showed you why the games are close now. Teams don't want to run. It's not that they don't. Well, okay, they've shown early on in the season that it's a trend not to run the ball on them. So teams go like this. Okay, I'm going to go with the least amount of resistance and throw the ball against them because they're last in the NFL in pass defense next to the Bears. Why would I go with the tougher route to try to beat you?
Yeah, and another thing real quick, another thing to keep in mind here, with the Philadelphia Eagles, right? Although last year they weren't the strongest in the run, they were giving up 121 yards per game. That was ranked in the NFL 16th, so middle of the pack. So keep that in mind, right? Last year the Eagles were middle of the pack in run defense, giving up 121 yards, ranked 16th. So this season, we talked about pass play percentage and run play percentage. So last season, the Philadelphia Eagles, in terms of pass play percentage, teams were passing the ball on the Philadelphia Eagles 58% of the time, right? And last year also, teams were running the ball on the Eagles 42% of the time.
Almost balanced.
So almost balanced, right? Now, here's the thing about this year. This year, teams are running the ball on the Eagles about 29% of the time. And this year, in pass coverage, teams are throwing the ball on the Philadelphia Eagles 71% of the time. So not only did their run defense to pass defense skill set flip, the ratio is drastic now. You dig what I'm saying?
What else is the telling number from that 71% that teams are doing more this year to where last year it was 58%? What is the one other negative about the Eagle defense? Get this, there's more pass attempts this year, Tone, for you to get home, and you're not. Whereas last year,
and that's why
you had 70 sacks on 58% pass attempts against you per game. This year, this goes to what I've been saying the whole time. Now you up near 71%.
That's why the pressure don't look like it's a lot.
More attempts against you, and you're getting there less.
Or you're getting there the same amount, but they're passing the ball so much against you, you can't really tell. It doesn't look like it. You get what I mean?
You know what? The sacks, I'm not even really looking. Hey, what I'd like to know is, compared to where they were a year ago in pressures, is there a way we can find that out on what they had in pressures in week 9 last year versus week 9 this year? Or on hits on the quarterback? because it hits on the quarterback. I'd like to know, because I think that unit a year ago, as a matter of fact, I would say this, that the second half of the season for the Eagles last year, Tone, I think they picked up their pass pressure more. Didn't Brandon Graham come on in the second half of the season last year? Wasn't it Hassan Reddick also coming on in the second half of the season last year, where that pass game or that pass rush really picked up a year ago? Because I thought the second half of the season a year ago, Reddick was playing like his hair was on fire last year.
Let me see if I can find that number for pressures.
Because get this, there's more pass attempts and you got less sacks than you did a year ago. Because you're on pace for 52 this year. Last year you had 70. That's 18 off the pace.
Okay, so far this season, because I don't know if I can get as specific as so far this season, the Philadelphia Eagles have 112 pressures. Right.
And that's 26 sacks, right?
And 30 sacks.
30 sacks.
So this year they got 30 sacks on 112 pressures this season. So in last year, because they're going to give me the full
and more pass attempts.
They're going to give me the full.
So watch this, Tone. No matter what that number is, last year your percentage of getting home was higher, because you know why? You're 71% of the teams this year are throwing the ball on you.
I'm about to tell you right now. So
think about that.
Last year,
huge disparity. That's huge. That's a huge difference.
Right. Listen to this though. Last year, the Philadelphia Eagles got 176 pressures with 69 sacks. So they're technically on pace for more pressures this year, but it's going to be less sacks. So if I divide the amount of sacks by the pressures, if I divide the total amount of
your
sacks,
percentage of getting home though a year ago was higher because teams were passing it less.
Yes. So if I correlate the sacks and the pressures, right? The Philadelphia Eagles last year were getting sacks at a 39% rate. If I think about this year now, 30 divided by 112. And again, this is a 9-game sample size versus a full season. As of right now, on this year, the Philadelphia Eagles, compared to the 30 sacks they have this year and 112 pressures this year, the Eagles are only getting pressures on 27% of the time.
With more attempts and this year they're attempting passes more from 58 to 71.
Yeah. So they're on pace for more pressures. They're on pace for more pressures for less sacks. Yep, exactly. The success rate is down. Because they're like you said, there's so many pass attempts going up against them now. The motor's running hot and the success rate is down.
You're in nickel defense and pass defense 71% of the time this year, where last year you were in 58%.
Yeah, man. The success rate is down. They were literally getting sacks damn near 40% of the time. Now they're down to about 28% of the time.
That's why teams are completing passes on you now, and get this. That's why the games are. And again, let's do this. I'm going to do something that all of you guys like to do, 8-1. But this is why the margin for error going into the second half, and why I think this next 5-game, Tone, I think this next 5-game stretch here for this team is going to tell us whether or not they're going to be able to run through the tape this year.
Mm-hmm. And
it's
also
not whether or not you're going to get to not whether or not you're going to get to the dance. It's whether or not you're going to get the parade.
And also another thing is, if we're doing this right here, right now, live in front of all these people, what do you think they're doing right now? They have no
exactly what we're doing.
Exactly. They're doing exactly what we're doing. So
you've got to come up with a way to do this. More pressure. You got to maintain your run defense.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, like I said, this is why I say this to you. I heard you guys talking the other day, Lane and AJ are the most important. I think Hassan Reddick. You lose Hassan Reddick.
Oh yeah. So what we did was you
can't lose him.
The most important offensive guy and the most important defensive guy. I said Jalen Carter on defense.
Run defense, pass defense. Oh yes. But
Reddick and Sweat, they are so important to the overall, the overall pressure rate. Yeah. So, I look at it like this, man. Let me ask you this quick question before I get out of here. If you're Sean Desai, right? Again, we just went through all these trends. We know what we know. If you're Sean Desai, and when you come out of that bye week, you're going to be as healthy. You're going to be as healthy as you're going to be all for the rest of the year. What's your answer for this pass defense? Again, you got Patrick Mahomes coming up, Josh Allen, Brock Purdy, Geno Smith, Dak again. You got all these guys coming up. What's your answer for this secondary? Are you playing guys? Because remember, what we're noticing now is teams are hitting us with the quick game because we're leaving so much space. So are you moving guys up? Are you sending an extra blitzer? What are you doing to try to give your pass defense a fighting chance?
Okay. I think you simplify it, not complicate it.
Okay.
I think you play to their strength, which is playing center field. And you play 20-20. And you look at these quarterbacks and you're going to be in a close ball game. And you can't start doing things like you did in the Super Bowl with Gannon. Because what Andy Reid will do, they'll do those passing and crossing routes. And they'll be running with their heads, like chickens with their heads cut off back there, like they were in the Super Bowl in the fourth quarter. Don't complicate this any more than it is. What you need to do also is you got to stick with your normal personnel. Communication is going to be a massive factor here. I hate to say this. Best thing happened, Dean got hurt. Because to me,
I hate talking like that too.
I hate talking like that too. But you know what? That at least puts the front office at bay and keeps their mouths shut to want to play him. And that does,
it buys you 4 weeks.
Buys you 4 weeks of continuity. And I think those guys are going to play a bunch better once they know this, that no one's going to be going in and out. No one likes to not know their role.
Yes.
Everyone's going to know their role at that linebacker position. Are they good enough? They weren't great cover guys last year, but at least they've stabilized the position now. I think you've got to do a great job at somehow getting home more blitzes, but you got to have situational blitzes. And I think you've got to have timely blitzes. And in my opinion, I think you got to try to win first and second down on the pass play.
Absolutely. And, my final point about them linebackers, right? Because you brought up a good point. The reality is Dean hasn't been able to get it done, and he's been compromised out there. And by you trying to force feed him into the lineup, it's made things kind of wonky in pass coverage, right? And here's the thing, right? We talked about TJ Edwards earlier. TJ Edwards right now on the season, according to PFF, and I know PFF isn't the Bible, but it's a decent metric to see what a guy is doing overall. On the season, TJ Edwards has an overall PFF grade for that's 80.2. So he's been very good at his position despite being on a bad defense. He has an overall PFF grade of 80.2. Nicholas Morrow
on a shitty team.
On a shitty team. Nicholas Morrow, and he's played a good enough. He's played a good enough snaps and a good amount of games for you to get a good sense of who he is.
Would you give him a contract next year?
Listen to this, and you tell me. Listen to this. Nicholas Morrow, among linebackers, according to PFF, has a overall grade of 84.9.
I'm bringing him back, and I could get him at a Howie price. One thing on TJ, last 3 years, he's on pace for over 500 tackles, and this year he's on pace for 224 tackles. And in the last 27 games he's played, he's got 271. I mean,
that's insane.
You let that guy walk out the building, man.
That's insane, right? Now they let him walk out the building, right? Let me ask you this though: they let him walk out the building. What if we accepted Nicholas Morrow as the answer from the beginning, and he's playing as well? Listen, we know value is important to Howie, right? Because according to PFF, Nicholas Morrow is playing a little bit better than TJ Edwards, and he's paying him significantly less.
You know this answer already. You already know it. Why is Dean playing?
Listen, man. Coach Roseman. But again,
I picked that kid, Tone. I found that guy walking the street. I even cut his ass. You want me to play somebody that I invested my time and hard-earned work on? Hold on here, Coach. You want to be sitting next to Doug? You mean in Jacksonville? Yeah, all right. I'm all right with that.
Yeah. Let me ask you this real quick before I get out here. Because we're having too much fun right now. Let me ask you this real quick. Like we said, Nakobe Dean's on IR, which buys you 4 weeks for you to show that this defense can. Listen though, this buys you 4 weeks for you to show, and it's the perfect time because you're going up against top teams in this 4-week span. Through those 4 weeks, if Nicholas Morrow shows you that he is the stabilizing force, he is the answer. That final stretch preparing for playoff time, do you think Howie sits this one out and says, nah, Dean's not playing? Keep Morrow out there? And again, Morrow's playing well. Morrow's playing well so far. If he plays well over this 4-game stretch, do you think that buys him the rest of the season with Howie?
I'm not answering that question because
look at you, Nancy.
You know the answer. You know your boy's gonna parachute in there going, "Where's my boy?"
Oh my God. Oh man, listen, he better not, man. He better not. He'd be a fool.
Oh, really?
He'd be a fool.
Okay, wait a minute. Is that his MO?
But you know how once you get
Tone.
Say it with me.
Say it with me, you flag waving Eagle fan.
Oh my God. Oh
Say
my
it
God.
with me, you pancake eating flag waving Eagle fan.
Nicholas Morrow, I need you to get a pick 6. I need 5 sacks.
Oh, you want this guy to play like Roquan Smith here down the stretch, right? Hey, man, he's playing like Roquan. I can't yank him. Shit. Oh,
my God. Listen, how do you deny the production, though? How do you deny it? It's no way I love a guy that much.
Don't you love Tone here just trying to fight the system here, knowing the full answer why? Now you know why I've been fired. Now you know why I've been fired. Don't speak the truth, dude.
Oh, man.
Massage it. Man. Shit, you should be the afternoon guy at WIP the way you talk sometimes.
You gotta be crying over here, man.
Hey, man.
Oh, my God.
Great stuff. A lot of fun, dog.
Oh, definitely, man. We had a good time today, man. This was the best one yet.
Man. That's my man, Tony. Joins us each and every single day at 3:30 for the segment. The Philly Godfather is going to join us at 5:30 Eastern. Happy Wingsgiving from our great friends at Hooters. You bet, man. The Hooter girls and the iconic Hooter girls want to thank you and each and every single one of you this November, giving you a special each and every single day like Ice Cold Coors Light drafts, $2.99. 25 cents goes to every purchase, and it goes to a local charity. And so they want to give to the local charities, and your help helps that happen. Hooter calendars 2024, I believe 9 of the girls are in the 2024 calendar and from the Northeast area. And there's also $100 in coupons inside the 2024 calendar. Lunch specials Monday through Friday, 11:30 to 3. Boneless wings. Happy hour, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6. 6 items, $6. Try the fried pickles. You'll love them. Love this one. Seafood Sundays, half price. Buffalo shrimp. Get the steamers. Sensational. Get the lemon. Steamers are awesome. I've been eating there for 40 years, man. Wing Wednesdays, 1983, all you can eat. Kids eat for free on Saturdays. That's northeasthooters.com. northeasthooters.com. And do me a favor. When you roll in, tell them Big Sil sent you.
Football and Hooters, the perfect pair.